This is a classic Lasagne al Forno. In Italian, al forno means baked. Layers of pasta with two sauces, a creamy white bechamel, and a rich, very slowly baked meat sauce called Ragu Bolognese. There are many versions of this dish from factories, takeaways, and restaurant chains, but made at home using authentic ingredients puts this simple Italian peasant dish into the 5-star bracket. This recipe will serve 6. In the frying pan there is a softened chopped medium onion in a tablespoon of olive oil, which has been cooking for about 10 minutes. Once the onions are nice and soft, add 100 grams of chopped smoked pancetta and stir it well. Then crush a clove of garlic into the pan and cook for another 5 minutes. We're going to cook the ragu in a 3-litre capacity casserole, to which I'm adding the fried pancetta, garlic and onion. But I'm not finished with the frying pan. Over a very high heat, add a dessertspoon of olive oil. We're going to brown 225 grams of minced beef, or minced veal if you want to be really authentic. First, use the back of a wooden spoon to spread the beef out in the pan. Then, you need to separate the lumps. I find gently pushing through with a balloon whisk makes light work of it. Let the meat brown all over then add it to the casserole. Now repeat that with another dessertspoon of oil, and this time 225 grams of minced pork. Then when it's brown, add it to the casserole. Now put the casserole onto the high heat and add a 400 gram tin of chopped Italian plum tomatoes. Add 3 tablespoons of sun-dried tomato paste, 75 ml of Italian red wine, some salt, pepper, and freshly grated nutmeg. Then a rounded tablespoon of chopped basil leaves. Give it all a good stir and bring it up to a gentle simmer. Then put a lid on the casserole, put it into a low oven, 140 degrees centigrade, gas mark 1 for 1 hour. Then remove the lid and give it another hour to reduce and thicken the sauce. This is a creamy white sauce which we've already shown you in the cookery school. Here I've made a larger amount using 850 ml of milk, 75 grams of butter and 50 grams of sauce flour, which I've whisked together and left to simmer gently for 10 minutes, just stirring occasionally. Take the pan off the heat, add some seasoning, and about 1/3 of a freshly grated nutmeg. Now give it a quick whisk and then add 100 ml of double cream. You need to reserve 2 ladlefuls of sauce for the lasagna topping. Once this is done, it's time to finish off the ragu. After it's been in the oven for 2 hours, take it out and stir in a tablespoon of freshly chopped basil. Then flatten down the thick sauce in the pan and divide it into quarters. Now all we have to do is an assembly job. And here's our line of ingredients. As well as our sauces, I've got mozzarella cheese and some lasagna sheets. We're using fresh, ready-made lasagna sheets, but you can also use dried, which are sometimes flavoured with spinach, and this gives it an interesting colour. This is a buttered oven-proof square dish, and it measures 23 centimetres on the base and it's 5 centimetres deep. First, take a quarter of the ragu pasta sauce, spoon it out over the base of the dish and spread it out evenly. Next, ladle a quarter of the white sauce over that and spread it out. Sprinkle with a quarter of the mozzarella. Then cover it all evenly with some lasagna. Trim the pasta and use the excess pieces to fill any gaps. Now spread more ragu over the pasta. And repeat the layering 2 more times, ending up with a layer of pasta. Finally, spread the reserved white sauce all over the top. And finish off by sprinkling parmesan. You can keep this covered in the fridge until the following day, or you can freeze it. But now we're going to bake this one in the oven at 180 degrees centigrade or gas mark 4. Put it on a higher shelf for 45 to 50 minutes, or until it's golden brown, crisp at the edges and bubbling on the top. Now leave it for 5 to 10 minutes to relax, and then cut it down the middle and across into 6 portions. Now, all it needs is a bottle of the finest Italian red you can find. What I want to show you is if you make a double quantity of Ragu Bolognese, then freeze the cooked sauce in 8 portions, about 200 grams each. It's ready for a quick supper whenever you want it. And the perfect quick supper, if it's homemade, is Spaghetti Bolognese. Pour 1 small tin of Italian chopped tomatoes into a pan. Add a defrosted bag of ragu sauce and warm over a medium heat until it's hot and bubbling. If you forget to take the ragu sauce from the freezer in time to defrost it, don't worry, you can heat it with the tomatoes from frozen. Just make sure it's bubbling hot. Finally, stir in some fresh chopped basil This makes enough sauce for spaghetti bolognese for 2 people. Another quick supper dish using 1 bag of Ragu Bolognese sauce is a baked macaroni pie. Here I've got in my bowl 225 grams of macaroni, which was cooked for 6 minutes rather than the usual 10, because they will be cooked further in the oven. And to that I'm adding a bag of Ragu Bolognese sauce and some white sauce which was made with 570 ml of milk and flavoured with nutmeg. Here I've got 4 tablespoons of grated parmesan and I'm adding half now. Mix all this together. Pour it into a buttered baking dish. Spread it out evenly. And finally, sprinkle with the remaining 2 tablespoons of grated parmesan. Bake in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes, 180 degrees centigrade, gas mark 4. What you end up with is this lovely family supper dish for 3 to 4 people with all the ingredients and flavours of lasagna, but much more simple to make. If you have any questions, join us on one of our online web chats or forums, and there are over 40 pasta recipes for you to try here online.